Good day. I thought I'd share my message from this morning with you again since we had some technical difficulties. I had a big week. I spent the last week in Mississippi with my three boys. We were at my parents' house. About 15 years ago, my dad planted some 200 blueberry bushes or trees, I guess. And there's so many blueberries now. There's so many, in fact, that their friends will frequently come over to help glean the harvest. In fact, while we were there, I even texted my high school friends and said, if you want blueberries, get out to my folks' house. There's plenty to choose from. Just come help us clean them out. I even texted a former student living in the area. We picked gallons, and still there were so many blueberries left to be picked. I think it's kind of amazing how many or how much fruit that a little sapling can eventually produce. I remember when my dad planted all of these blueberry bushes and they were so small, and now they're large and producing a lot of fruit. There's even enough of the birds and the deer and the raccoons without affecting the harvest. If I've learned anything from gardening and planting vegetables with my own children, it is that anybody can sow seeds. It does not take an experienced gardener. I found plants even where I didn't even realize I planted them. A cucumber crawling up the swing set in the backyard, or tomato plants growing up in the compost pile. Even sometimes, like the birds that come and feast on the blueberries, they then excrete that seed elsewhere with spreading these seeds unknowingly. I guess it would help if we were aware of what we were ingesting, though, so we would know what we're spreading when it comes back out of us, just like the birds, because even those little seeds can grow into fruition. What kind of fruit do we want to produce? I guess that depends on the seeds we sow and how we tend to the business of cultivating what it is that we plant. That's the thing about planting seeds. Once they are planted, we can go away. We can live our lives. We can check out. We can go to sleep. We can rise the next day. But the seed is still busy doing its thing, even if we put it out of mind. It's still germinating. It's still sprouting and growing. I was shocked to come back home after a week away to see our little container garden outside. It was most certainly not in the same state that it was when we left. It was fecund. We even had some fruit, almost enough green beans for a full serving. And there's some little green tomatoes. That stuff wasn't there when we left. It's the same thing that happens with our spiritual lives. When we plant little seeds of divinity and love, those seeds can grow into much fruit too. This is the fruit of God's kingdom, a reign of love, a reign of justice and mercy for all of God's children. And this is precisely what Jesus was getting at in Mark's gospel passage today with his many sowing parables. He asks us, how do we sow these seeds of love? Well, when you ask a homeless person their name, you plant a seed for the kingdom. When you use a preferred pronoun, you plant a seed for the kingdom. When we are present for another in a time of need, you plant a seed for the kingdom. When we push back against racism or toxic culture, we plant a seed for the kingdom. Now, of course, depending on the seeds we ingest, we can also, if you'll forgive the expression, you can just poop them right out like the birds. And we can end up planting weeds, though. Weeds that can choke out the good fruit. And that doesn't plant seeds for the kingdom. That's just a big field of what the Greeks called skubala. So yeah, if we're ingesting a diet of spiritual junk food, we're going to have problems. But if we're ingesting a diet of contemplation and love and consideration, then even when we're unaware of it, we're sowing seeds. And it's more likely that we'll be unconsciously planting good seeds instead of weeds. The thing here is that we are all cultivators of the kingdom. We don't have to be a professional farmer or an agronomist. We need only to leave our hearts open to divine transformation. And yeah, there are going to be times when we plant and we might hit a drought or some other condition of which we have no control over. But what does a farmer do? As Howard Thurman says, the farmer plants. The farmer always plants. Again and again, he works at it. The ultimate confidence and assurance that even though his seed does not grow into fruition, seeds do grow and they do come to fruition. So they got to be planted. For almost 3 years, the Church of the Epiphany has been planting seeds in our community. And this is at a time where national church attendance is below 50% for the first time in the United States. But I know with confidence that you who are watching this, you who are part of Epiphany, are here because you want to be here. And you're not here out of some kind of sense of social obligation to just belonging to a church. We are a transparent parish. We are affirming. We are loving. We lean on each other. We accept one another as we are. And we meet one another where we are. Because that's how Jesus rolled. If we are to remain a community, we do need to plant more seeds, though. We need to grow. And not just for the sake of growing, but for a genuine need to cultivate and maintain Epiphany as a sustainable community. So if you're watching this, I'd like to ask you to help scatter some seeds. We can do this in how we share our story of our community with others and how we engage with one another in genuine affection and presence. I'm not asking you to proselytize because that's just gross. Don't just invite people to church. Invite them to coffee or lunch. Invite them into your heart and listen to them. Tell them you care and show it. The church isn't a building, and we know that at Epiphany. You are the church. You are. And we know that there is always more room at the table. So go connect. And do so without worrying about the results. Because as Thurman also said, to keep one's eye on results is to detract markedly from the business at hand. That is to be diverted from the task itself. And our task, our business at hand, is sowing the seeds of love. Last week, I had a meeting online with the National Committee on New Episcopal Communities, and I was asked how I would describe the success of Epiphany. And I responded by saying that while we're not big in terms of people, we are huge in terms of love. And make no mistake, that is good fruit indeed. Amen.